So the beef between Francis is getting really interesting now. You know, this has been going on for what, two, three, 2, 3 years, something like that. I think, yeah. Um, but we all know Francis had a contract dispute with Dana in the UFC. He fought out his contract, and he waited out the grace period, signed PFL, yeah, you know all that. But lately, Dana and Francis have been going back and forth. Dana commented obviously on Francis and the PFL's um, last event with obviously Francis uh, headlining. We also have Ben Askren, who that'll be our first story. He recently came out and, himself had his beef and still has his beef with Dana White. Commented on this situation, I think. And I think he said a lot of good points. So if you're new to the channel, I I do videos on MMA and basically whatever interests me. We've been doing a lot of um, mainstream topics and the election and that. But let's get into this. So I really like Ben Askren, by the way. I think you know obviously he is kind of cringy. That's his persona, but I think when you listen to Ben Askren, for somebody who is an MMA fighter, he is wickedly intelligent. Obviously, his fight style was able to save him a lot of head injuries until he made it to the UFC, obviously. Uh, but you read here, Ben Askren scorches Dana White for weird personality trait amidst Francis Ngannou feud. Alright. Former UFC star Ben Askren sees striking parallels between his past feud with Dana White and what Francis Ngannou has experienced since departing the promotion. Ngannou won his PFL debut earlier this month over Brendan Ferreira, has been the target of White's in recent days. I mean, it's been years. After the story of Ngannou's UFC departure resurfaced, White claimed he had issues with Ngannou for years, dating back to Ngannou's first title fight against Stipe Miocic. White went as far to say he wanted to cut Ngannou after he lost to Derek Lewis. You weren't going to cut him. Come on, Dana. There was no way the UFC would ever cut him, and if they did cut him, he would have just became the star he was in a different promotion. But then again, UFC did kind of get one of his eyes. We'll get into it once we're done the article. Uh, in a lackluster fight against Derek Lewis 226, yeah, we all remember that. But two of his associates convinced White to keep Ngannou on the roster, despite his hatred for the future heavyweight champ. No, Dana was really high on Francis Ngannou even after that title fight. Askren went through a similar roller coaster with White before signing with the UFC in 2019. For years, White attacked Askren through the media, claiming that he'd rather watch Flies F than watch Ben Askren fight. We all remember that quote. Askren believes White's public feuds are due to serious personality flaw he's had since taking over the UFC reins. During a recent episode of Funky and the Champ, Askren reacts to Ngannou and White's public feud. I've obviously had the same experience with Dana, and I mostly think Dana does a great job. Obviously, as a businessman, he does an amazing job. I think he showed a lot of courage when he brought the UFC back for all the professional sports. I respect that a lot. To which point Dana spent years saying I didn't want to fight the best, didn't want challenges, I was running away, and they couldn't been further from the truth, Askren said. So it sucked for this guy. It's essentially surrender, saying things about me that I knew weren't true. Dana has this part of his personality when he can't get what he wants, and in that case, he didn't offer me a contract, Askren continued. He did the same thing with Cyborg. I believe Randy Couture had a similar experience. Francis, but there's this great part of Dana's personality where if he can't get exactly what he wants, he starts crapping on people. And because he has a big microphone and he's generally very truthful and correct, so people just believe him. I had to deal with many years of Dana telling lies about me that were just really harmful. He had no reason or basis for doing it. It's a really big negative. I don't know why he's like that, and it really doesn't make sense given the stature and power he has. For him to throw fists when he doesn't get exact fits when he doesn't get exactly what he wants. As of writing, White hasn't addressed Askren's marks. Well, yeah, I think Askren is the perfect person to comment on this because even before Ben Askren made it to the UFC, he was one of the fighters that Dana and the UFC really wanted to get, especially around the time of GSP and all those other welterweights. Like GSP Ben Askren at the time was a dream fight. And then he gets into the UFC. Obviously, him and Dana have their beef. Um, he has that weird win over Robbie Lawler, and then he gets knocked out by Jorge, and then submitted by Damian Maia. But yeah, like the thing is that like that's the thing with Dana, right? Is that we've heard it with so many fighters, Francis, Ben Askren, Couture, Chris Cyborg, like mentioned, John Fitch, Rich Franklin. He kind of did it to Jake Shields. Like, the list goes on, but like, it's it's annoying as fight fans, right? That like, because of this stupid beef in which Francis made the right business decision for him. And I think Dana White, as a businessman, even even if he doesn't want to publicly say it, he acknowledges that. There's no fucking way he was gonna make the amount of money he made from those two boxing fights and what he'll make at the end of these two fights. Like, 8 million plus pay per view. Um, he maybe would have got that contract. I know they were talking about 10 mil for Francis and John Jones at the time. But I mean, Francis banked on himself, and it worked out for him. You can say what you want about him being knocked out. He, in a lot of people's eyes, beat Tyson Fury at the time when Tyson Fury was looked at as number one pound for pound boxer of all time, potentially greatest heavyweight boxer of all time in a lot of people's eyes. But yeah, it's again, like I said, it's annoying as fight fans that these beast prevent us from seeing the fights we want to see. John Jones versus Francis. Francis versus Tom Aspinall. Francis versus Alex Pereira. Francis versus Sergey Pavlovich. Like, there's so many good fights that the UFC could put on with Francis. Um, but you know, we're at where we're at now. Moving on. Now, this here is just Dana straight up fucking lying. I I know we make fun of him for saying that Power Slap is the biggest sport in the world that's beating out all these different sports teams and that. But like man, again too. This isn't Randy Couture, right? This isn't an American fighter. This isn't Ronda Rousey, whoever you want to bring up. Like, this is a guy who went from a slave in the sand mines to a heavyweight world champion to two boxing matches with two of the best heavyweight boxers of all time. Absolutely, this generation. And, you know, I get Dana as a businessman, right? But, like, even as a businessman, even as just a human, like, you gotta respect that everything that Francis has gone through, from Africa to recently, the tragedy with his son. Like, this guy has been through hell and back. And he took an opportunity to change his life forever, and he did that. He did that. And, yeah. Let's read this article. I was going to cut Francis when he lost two in a row. No, you weren't. Dana White continues verbal beef with the Predator, who's all about the money. UFC President Dana White is back and at his scorched earth campaign against former heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou in the post-event media scrum after the conclusion of his Power Slap 9 event in Abu Dhabi. White was asked about Ngannou's recent career trajectory. Last weekend, the Predator made a triumph return to MMA by dismantling Renan Ferreira to win the PFL heavyweight super fight title. This was a culmination of less than stellar journey involving two losses in boxing and the tragic death of his son Kobe this year. That's the other thing, like I said, Francis Ngannou has been through hell and back. And like, you know, we can say all we want about him as a fighter and that, but like, to really go through the shit that this man has gone through, and to be a high level athlete, it's like his life is a story. They're gonna have to make a movie on this guy. But anyways, when asked what he thought about Ngannou's career when leaving the UFC in 2021, White said, Francis Ngannou was all about the money. I mean, yeah. Francis left because he knew that if he fought John Jones and didn't win, it wouldn't hurt his chances of making the money that he wanted to make. But realistically, his deal was bigger here. His deal was bigger here if he stayed in the UFC. I really doubt that. I really doubt that, especially too with how downhill the UFC really went when Francis left. Because you gotta keep in mind, John Jones left right before him. Um, you had Henry Cejudo retiring. You had countless UFC veterans at that time going downhill. Donald Cowboy Cerrone was on his fall. Tony Ferguson was on his fall. Like, again, dude, I don't get it. I don't get the point of keeping this beef against the biggest star, the biggest heavyweight star in the world. He's a bigger star than John Jones. And John Jones, yes, he's been around longer. Yes, he's the greatest of all time. Francis Ngannou, though, he's a mainstream name. Everybody knows him. He's in movies now. But yeah. Um, like, okay, so I have no doubt that he could have probably made more money from MMA fights. You know, I think they were talking about 10 mil for John Jones. That was the reported price for that fight. So yeah, one fight, John Jones, you make 10 mil. Say he loses that fight, he goes down to 800K. Instead, he did 2 boxing matches. He made around $30 million from what I read. And then he just made another 8 mil first pay-per-view. And he has another guaranteed 8 mil first pay-per-view. On top of all of the other endorsements and opportunity he has. I was gonna cut Francis when he lost 2 in a row versus Miocic and Lewis. No, you weren't. I was gonna cut him. Somebody around here begged me not to do it. Motions his head to people at the back. They were no. If you guys remember, they were pushing Francis to the moon. Again, this guy knocked out Overeem. He knocked out JDS. He knocked out Cain Velasquez. Everybody in the first round. Like, the only other comparables are Tom Aspinall. Oh yeah, is definitely in contention for being the greatest heavyweight. Boy, after watching that Renan Ferreira fight, I truly believe, and I'm one of the biggest John Jones fans ever, Francis Ngannou is the number one pound for pound heavyweight in MMA. Period. But yeah, let's get to Francis Ngannou's response to Dana White. Says Francis Ngannou responds, Dana White has lost in this situation and he cannot stand it. Francis Ngannou isn't losing sleep over Dana White's thoughts on him in 2024. MMA relationships between fighters and promoters rarely end peacefully or with both sides on the same page. Unfortunately, for the former UFC heavyweight champion turned PFL superstar, Ngannou, his old boss has nothing positive to say. That's far from the end of the world. The Predator has done quite well for himself by gambling on his career and giving up his crown atop the promotion's heaviest weight class. Ngannou, 38, left the UFC at the start of 2023 amid failed negotiations to have more free-flowing contract that allowed him to compete in boxing. This ultimately dissolved hopes of a super fight with the all-time great light heavyweight champion, John Jones, which had already hit a standstill. White has largely been critical about Ngannou ever since, and again renewed those attacks following Ngannou's recent first-round knockout of Renan Ferreira at PFL Battle of the Giants. Ngannou responded Friday on SiriusXM. I think Dana is trying to make things up to buy good faith in the position that he has lost. Ngannou said, Dana has lost in this situation and he cannot stand it. Bro, I won everything. I left. We've been apart almost 2 years and the guy is still out there. He can't live without it. And hounding me. Regardless of everything that happened, I'm not about him. I went out there, did a fight, had a great fight for my son's memory, but the guy can't stand it. I don't know what his problem is. He can make everything up as he wants. That's his problem. He needs to make peace with himself. He could have just said, we couldn't find an agreement or come up with a deal. Good luck to him. That's it. Good for him. And we continue our lives, he continued. What's the problem here? But I think the problem is that he can't handle this loss. I'm sure he's praying for my downfall, but I keep doing my thing and rising as soon as I left the UFC. In any sense, I'm more than what I was. White doesn't seem keen on anything they're going these days. At a Power Slap Media Scrum event, we just went through that. White claimed their separation, we just read that. Ngannou has long called for the Jones fight and hopes of possibility putting it together have remained teased from Ngannou and PFL. Jones even complimented the first-round knockout delivered by Ngannou against Ferreira in his PFL debut. Ngannou seemingly dismissed White as a bully on social media Friday and applied a 2021 video of White using a similar tactic to the media that Jones was avoiding a fight with Ngannou, which again, I'm pretty sure we all remember this. Yeah, we can even play it. Hopefully. Come on. There we go. Hold up, I gotta make sure that I have... let's do... Okay, that might be better. Okay, now... hopefully this plays. I don't know what's going on here. But, anyways...
Man, the idea of a John Jones fight seems awfully exciting right now. And John came out, tweeted, said, show me the money. What appeals to you most? Because it seems like that would be an amazing super fight.
If I'm John Jones and I'm home watching this fight, I start moving to 85.
You think that's a fight that you'd like to put together next? I mean, I know we don't matchmake, but that sure does seem exciting.
Listen, I can sit here all day and tell you, what show me the money mean? I tell you guys this all the time. If you can say you want to fight somebody, but do you really want to?
Man, the idea of a John Jones fight.
See, so again, if you guys forgot, he was using the exact same tactic to get Jones to fight Francis. But now that Francis left Francis is scared of Jones. Again, credit to Jake Paul for posting that. But yeah, let's continue on. Before Ngannou's success PFL debut, he entered the ring for matches against boxing giants Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, despite losing both. The first one by split decision, which I thought, God damn it, I thought he won that fight against Tyson Fury, but again, it was an exhibition. Ngannou is estimated to have earned hefty fight purses for both matches. Ngannou also negotiated a clause into his current PFL contract that guarantees his opponents $2 million, at least $2 million. Ngannou has comfortably moved from White and God damn it, there we go. And let it be known in every instance, he just doesn't understand why these types of comments keep surfacing. Which money is he talking about? The money that he owes me, Ngannou said. Remember, all of this ended with the UFC saying, oh, we'll back pay you from the money that we owe you for the Stipe and Cyril Gane fight. All of that. They never back paid me. Now, I never knew about this. I never knew that they never paid him for the Stipe or Cyril Gane fight. Now I've made more money than I have ever made in the UFC. I would say twice the money that I could have ever made in my entire UFC career if I had continued in the UFC. But either way, if I had made less money, if I'm not making enough money that I could have made in the UFC, that would be my problem. Why is he so pissed about me not taking that much money? Like, come on, man. Live your life. And, dude, I fully agree with Francis there. But, yeah. Like, man, I don't get it. I really don't. Which, why the fuck? Okay, I'm really interested to see if that clip did get audio or not, but either way, I'm pretty sure you guys saw that before. But, yeah. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about this beef between Francis and Dana White, and do you agree with Ben Askren on what he was saying about Dana White? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, comment, obviously, yeah, I just told you to comment, no shit. Do all that stuff, and, yeah, later.